Hey guys, how you doing? My name is John. Welcome to my Gamester81 channel, and in this video I'll be talking about my experiences visiting a really cool retro video game store called Gamers Paradise. It's located in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you've been to Vegas before, you know where Tropicana is a main thoroughfare that goes right through kind of downtown Las Vegas, the main strip. It's actually off of Tropicana. It's east of the main strip, a couple miles. It's next to the Pinball Hall of Fame, which I've been to a number of times. You see, most people go to Vegas to party, to gamble, to experience the shows. When I'm in Vegas, I'm hunting down the arcades, I'm looking for retro games. That's the reason I go to Vegas. I'm not much of a gambler, but I'd much rather spend my money and my quarters into retro machines. And Pinball Hall of Fame is definitely a place to do that. They have over 300 machines. I've done a review over that place on my Gamester81 arcade channel. I'll put a link below if you guys want to check that out. Great, but this is a review over the Gamers Paradise. And the reason I mention that is because this place is right next to the Pinball Hall of Fame. So I walk in Pinball Hall of Fame, there's a big banner. It says, Gamers Paradise next door. I go over there. It had closed that day I saw that, but I went back the next day and ended up talking to Sean, who's actually the owner of this place. And Sean and I hit off right off the bat. Okay, first of all, he loves video games. He plays a lot of retro games. He's a collector. He's a video gamer, first and foremost. But him and I, we both like sci-fi. Love Star Wars, Star Trek, etc. so forth. So we talked for a while. Really down to earth guy. So without any further ado, I want to show you my experiences visiting Gamers Paradise. Okay, so here it is, a Gamers Paradise. This is the front marquee. This is next to, as I mentioned before, the Pinball Hall of Fame in Vegas. Awesome place to check out. When you walk in, you see a whole bunch of arcades to your right, and then there's a ton of games. It's just wall to wall of just retro games. And when you go into these places, I do a lot of traveling, and I go to these places. I always like to ask the owner if I can record. And every once in a while, the manager, the owner, they don't like cameras, so I'm not able to record. But in this situation, he was very open about it. Very nice guy. There's one of my favorite pinball machines right there, Star Trek Next Generation. I absolutely love that pinball machine. I definitely would love to get it someday. Problem with pinball machines are they're very expensive and they're very hard to transport because they're super heavy. But up in front, they had a whole bunch of games. You have games, 360, PS3, more of the modern games. Behind that, they had Wii games. They have some two cocktail arcades, those tabletop arcades. The reason they call them cocktail arcades are basically they put them in a lot of bars back in the 80s, and the guys who would play them, or gals who were playing, would actually put their drinks on there, and they tend to call it cocktail. Here, some PS2 games, just 4 or 5 shells worth of PS2 games, and then they had a bargain bin where most of these were sports titles, $1 or $2 for each game. This is kind of where you put all the sports titles. It was pretty cool. Here, this game is called arcade. It's called Mad Planets. It's by Gottlieb. Gottlieb was known for making actually pinball machines. Really well known for that. Didn't really make too many arcades. I think their most well-known arcade is called Qbert, which I'm sure many of you may have heard of. Here's Dreamcast. A lot of us are fans of the Dreamcast. Dreamcast actually just celebrated a birthday recently as of making this video. It came out in 9/9/99. Kind of very memorable release date. Here's some Sega Cd games. Thing about this place though, a lot of times you wouldn't see many sports games. Other than that bin I just showed you, there weren't many sports titles. Where you go to a lot of these places in Sega Cd, it's all Madden, or it's all sports titles, baseball, or same with Saturn games. But there's Night Trap. That's one of the most controversial games of all time in gaming history. It wasn't, looking back on it, it was pretty weak. It was just, it's a whole bunch of full motion video of girls in 90s running around. You're supposed to, you're a robber. So basically, it went to the Supreme Court, and that's how we got the whole grading of games today. Really a part of it. So that's interesting. There's a pinball game for the Saturn, and there's NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Panzer Dragoon. There's Street Fighter Alpha, which is a great series, Street Fighter series. I really enjoy that, and that's a good port for the Saturn, actually. I like the controller. Works well with fighting games. Super Nintendo games, of course, just wall-to-wall, 4 or 5. All these games are about $3 each, and they're all alphabetical. Some of them have yellowed over the years. Some of the labels have torn, but that's pretty common. You see that a lot of days. And here's some box ones, but they had a lot more box ones. I'll show you a little bit later in this video. Here are some classic PC games, which is awesome. Really threw me back looking at these. This is Lynx. I don't know if you guys remember this golf series called Lynx, but it was like pre-Golden Tee. And I had it on my Gateway computer, like 95 Gateway computer, and it was just awesome. And they're actually real courses. Yeah, it was pretty neat. Here is the Genesis games, a lot of clamps, a lot of box Genesis games. Again, kind of something you see a lot in retro gaming stores today because the plastic clamshell lasts a lot longer than the cardboard Super Nintendo boxes or Nintendo boxes, so you'd see more clamshells. But these were anywhere from $3 to $7 each, and then they had some Sega Master System games right below it, which you'll see here right there, and those are about $7 each, a little bit more expensive. There's Rampage, and they had some card ones too. I didn't see any TurboGrafx-16 games here. I didn't see any Neo Geo games here. Those are pretty hard to find out in the wild, as I say, because they just are. There's some Atari 2600 games. You had some Intellivision games, a couple ColecoVision ones. There are some classic magazines, Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo Power, a ton of Nintendo games. They were anywhere from $2 to $5 each. Some of them were in the $7 range, depending on what game it was. PS1 games, again, just you know, 3 or 4 shelves of PS1 games, and then they had some Intellivision games there boxed as well. Here's kind of just a scan of the whole place itself, from kind of looking from the back to forward, and another cocktail. And they had a 60-in-1 cabinet there, so meaning the board was 60-in-1 games, so they had all the Donkey Kong games. Look at that, that's Nintendo Authorized Dealer Center. Neon sign. Oh man, I don't know how he got a hold of that, but that's so awesome to have, and it worked perfectly. He said he has another one too in his other store, and he has actually the system for testing too for Nintendo, which is really rare. There's some handhelds. You got some Game Boy Colors, Game Boy. You can see the crystal one, the clear one, C3 one. Some kind of interesting, harder to find PS1 games, the Final Fantasy 7s, you know, stuff like that. Here's some more harder to find Super Nintendo games. You know, Super Adventure Island 2 was in there. There's some Genesis. Here is some Saturn games. Notice there, Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's one of the hardest games, the most expensive games to find on the Saturn. That's about, he's selling it for $200, which is about what it sells for, anywhere from $150 to $200 plus, and complete. So that was cool to see that out in the wild. I did not pick that up, but someday I might pick it up. Who knows? I don't own it yet. But here are some PSP games, of course, and some Super Nintendo or Nintendo 64 games. He has all of them. Those were in case boxes too. He didn't really have those out in the open shelves, but some really good ones. Wave Race, and you got Shadow of the Empire. You know, there's Wave Race right there. I love the wrestling ones for the N64. Some of my favorite wrestling games right there. In college I used to play those a lot. There's Madden. There's the sports ones. They're all boxed. And up top, right behind it, the shelf, they had a whole bunch of box systems. These are all for sale. And then it just goes on and on, pretty long time of just all these Super Nintendo box games. Anywhere from $15, $10, $15 up towards to, you know, over $100 depending on some of the rare games. He had a box Final Fantasy 3 that was, I think, sealed. It was just pretty cool. Then you had all the Nintendo ones, all the classics here as well. Super Mario Bros. 3. You have, he had Contra Box. I mean, just, you can see it goes on and on and on. And this isn't even the tip of the iceberg as far as his collection, what he sells, because he actually took me back, and I'll show you here in a second. He actually took me back, and we kind of scrummaged through some of the other games. He had a lot more imports in the back too. He didn't really display a lot of the import games. We had a lot of Sega Master System games, you know, games imports and Mega Drive games and all that. Here's just going through some of the Super Nintendo box games. They had Star Fox, I mean, Super Star Wars, and then these are the import games I was talking about before. He had Super Famicom games. There's Page Master, based on the movie with Macaulay Culkin. I think he was selling for like $4. I think I ended up picking that game up. And this is Wonder Boy, sealed, and I actually ended up buying that sealed. I think I paid I don't know, like $12 for that. Wasn't too bad for a sealed game. He gave me a good deal on that, and then that was really cool to see. And there's Super Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, or Killer Instinct rather. But he actually was cool. He wanted to show me a tour, so I have him on camera. So let me show you that real quick. And thanks for watching, guys. And let's see what he has to say. And his name's Sean. Opened up a couple months ago.
Couple months.
Good. So take us around. Show us some of your rarities and what you got here. This is awesome.
My rarities?
Or just whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Rarities games, rarity systems.
A little bit of both. I noticed this museum over here you got.
My little wall of fame over here. You know, some of the oddities that I've collected or whatnot, such as, you know, a Panasonic 3DO, the second generation.
Yeah, I know it's a Super Street Fighter 2. It's one of the better games ports for it too. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, actually, my favorite game for that system was The Incredible Machine. Great puzzle game.
Okay, cool.
JVC XI, one and only Sega CD that was created by a joint venture between Sega and JVC.
Right.
Probably the best running Sega CD you will ever get.
Yeah.
Never any problems. The Atari Jaguar, basically Atari's huge failure on that one.
And you mentioned you had a CD. You have another location, right?
Yes, we have another location on Nellis and Harris.
Okay, awesome. I'll put the. You have a website I can put below?
Sure.
Okay,
agpvegas.com.
Great, great.
There's some Game & Watches from back in the 80s. You know, adorning our Virtual Boy, another one of Nintendo's failures. The Panasonic Q Cube.
Yeah.
Your Neo Geo system. Power Glove. Oh.
What is this right here? This is the Web
that
TV.
was the Sony Web TV. I just happened to have it and threw it in there because that died out within like a year.
Yeah.
I just happened to have one in a box. The Sega Nomad Collection, the Sega CDX, Game Gear, first generation working Sega CD with the Genesis and the turbo bass converter that could allow you to play Sega Master System games.
Those trays go out a lot, huh, on the Sega CD?
All the time. I have like 3 others with the trays that are just completely locked into place.
Odyssey 2, awesome.
Odyssey 2 system.
And television.
And there's a Magnavox CDI system right there.
What model is that? Is that the 400 series? What is that?
I believe that is the 400 series. One that I picked up off somebody.
What is this up here? Tell me about
this. That is the Nintendo Hotel TV. Unfortunately, it has seen better days, but it does still work. There was a combination Nintendo and TV for hotels.
Nice.
Back in the day.
Very cool.
And some of the other things that I've collected throughout the years, like the Mattel Aquarius computer, the Intellivision 2 computer.
That's pretty rare. That's right there,
yeah. ColecoVision in the box with the steering wheel controller and the 2600 module.
Yeah.
But Odyssey 400 Pong machine.
Yeah.
Sega Master
System box.
Turbo Graphics in the box.
Master
Actual
System
Nintendo with Rob the Robot in the box.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And you know, a couple 5200s and television. You know, not necessarily rare, all obtainable up on eBay. Just about everything is.
And you get people that trade these in then?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
All the time.
Wow.
But yeah.
This location is right next to the Pinball Hall of Fame in Vegas, too, off of Tropicana. So you got some machines too, some arcade machines. Tell us about these machines.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the projects that I work on are, you know, they're 60-in-1 cocktail tables. You know, projects. I enjoy making these and repairing them and stuff like that.
Very cool.
I love basically a lot of 80s classic arcade games. Those are my favorites.
This is another 60-in-1 too?
Another 60-in-1.
Nice. Is that battle right there going on?
That is Tank Battalion.
Tank Battalion, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly who made this game, but it really wasn't any good.
Yeah. Awesome. You have arcades in your other location too?
Yes, I do.
Very cool.
Yeah. Pinball machines, arcade games. Yeah, so that's what I enjoy doing is I love repairing machines. That's my favorite thing.
Right,
absolutely. Repairing 360s and PlayStation 3s and Nintendos and Ataris and you know and arcade machines and pinball machines. Those are my hobbies. Yeah, I've always enjoyed it.
So if your system doesn't work, bring it into you.
Absolutely.
Or your arcade, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you, Sean, for the tour.
Hey, no problem.